You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
So that'll be a lot of fun. We're rolling live.
I was doing a soccer game right before I came here. I left at halftime. So my kids better win. They were up 4-1.
They just got to take
They're
air
running
out, right?
laps.
Park the bus. Right, that's what they say. That's why soccer can be. Did Chelsea end up winning today? Somebody let me know in the comments. I saw it was 1-1 at halftime. But guys, this is Building the Broncos. We are running live. Welcome in Tuesday evening. You guys get to see me double today, so I'm sorry. But no, really happy to have you in here. Carl, welcome Tuesday night, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, man. It's been a good day. It's my wife's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday!
And so yeah, like I was telling John before the show here, I've gotten to see her probably a total of about 4 minutes today.
Happy birthday to her. God, that's the best gift, right? My wife would pay money for that one. It's like, oh, I don't have to see it. No, she'd say, that's not very nice, Nick. I like hanging out with you. Just a funny joke. Well, hopefully you get to do something nice for her. I know it's still weird times right now, but hopefully you guys can enjoy something together later this evening.
I think we were going to go, what's it called?
Laser tag.
Parasailing.
Oh, okay.
Not over the water, whatever that one's called. Or like it's just
hang
got
gliding?
a motor. It might be that. No, I've done hang gliding. That's the one that's like a giant kite. We're talking like a parachute, and you just go up and they pull you behind. And
what in the redneck, Carl, are you doing this weekend? So, guys, good evening from Jason O'Neill rocking. Oh, looks like he's rocking a Huddle shirt there. So really, thank you, Jason. That's a new picture. I don't see your injured arm anymore. So hopefully you're doing better there on the mend. I'm rocking the best logo in sports, the old D. They better bring that back whenever there's new ownership. Bring it back, John. I always have to throw that out there because John doesn't like it as much. Mike is in the house. Bob Skinner is in the house. How you guys doing? I see Diamond Rattler's in the house. I love giving Diamond Rattler loves giving me a hard time. I like giving him a hard time too. Jamel Killings killing me in here, man. How you doing? TJ Kinney, love you guys. Thank you very much over on YouTube. We got Robot of Doom number 5 coming in. Good evening, Broncos country, with a lot of wows. I think they're wows maybe in there, or maybe they're viruses.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, well,
let's go.
You don't have to tell us twice. So, guys, building. Oh, and Paul.
Yep.
Save those the salt gifts for me if the Broncos ended up taking a running back in the first round of the NFL draft, because I'm going to need them. Honestly, I won't need them because I'll be crying. I'll have plenty of salt. But guys, take it away, Carl.
Yeah, well, welcome into Building the Broncos. Always love these Tuesday nights, and especially, man, the Tuesday night before the draft. Like I was laying in bed going, it's draft week. And my head just did not shut up. I know. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm shaking here. Yeah. And so it's been just an exciting time, and it's hard not to like hit refresh on your phone for Twitter like 30 times a second. It's very exciting times. I'm very excited to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to get into some different scenarios that people have put out there for the Broncos and kind of give our thoughts on each and every one of them. But before we get to that, we want to make sure to give a shout out to our sponsor here for tonight. Of course, it's Manscaped. And
Mr.
Manscaped. But no, this is a great sponsor for us. It's 2021. We're getting ready to head into the summer. Nick, you were talking about how you booked your ticket to go on your trip here pretty soon, and you want to be looking good. You want to be trimmed up, and so you want to be able to take on that new me mindset here for 2021. Get looking good. So make sure that you are doing that with Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping 2 million men around the world keep their male grooming on point. If you let yourself go here during quarantine, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved in 2021.
Yeah, guys, I booked my 3rd official backpacking trip of this upcoming season coming up at the end of July. Still waiting on one more to hear, but going to be doing a backpacking trip around north of Mount Rainier. And just because I'm a mountain man doesn't mean I need to look like a mountain man below the belt. You guys know what I'm talking about. And if you're doing that as well, you better get the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. If anybody's been out in the backcountry before, I'm a sweaty person, Carl. I'll just point blank, like pit stains, whatever you want to say. I'm just sweating like crazy. Do I brush my hair with Manscaped? You better believe it, Robert Caslow. That backcountry, don't need to be a mountain man below the waist. And also, really excited to use, I got a backpacking trip coming up in 3 weeks now, bringing the ball wipes with. Absolutely. Is that a luxury item? No, it's a necessity. So Manscaped is there. You guys got to make sure you check them out. Go to manscaped.com and use the code HUDDLE.
And also the great thing that's going on right now is that you can get 20% off and free shipping with that code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Yeah, guys, once again, if you go to manscaped.com and use the code HUDDLE, you can get 20% off with free shipping. Once again, that's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code HUDDLE. And just because, it's still quarantine, we're emerging from quarantine at this point. Everybody's getting vaccinated. We got to have a good summer, but that doesn't mean you should neglect your care, and especially the boys down south. Make sure you check out Manscaped.
Right. And also, real quick, before we get into the show, I want to make sure to let everyone know, make sure you're checking us out on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH, Nick at Nick Kendell MHH, and John at John K MHH. And also make sure that you guys are heading over to milehighhuddle.com, where we're producing lots of articles. Nick, you have a big mock draft coming out. 3,000 word mock draft. So you do not want to miss that. It should be dropping tomorrow.
Somewhere in there. It's coming tonight. So it's 3,000 words tonight. Woo. So we'll see what happens.
You're getting a lot of good Nick content here today. So that's very exciting. And you'll have to, maybe you can give us a little sneak peek of some of the picks that you made here tonight. But anyway, make sure you guys are heading over there, checking out all the different articles that are going on, and make sure that you're going to be tuning in this week, because obviously with the draft, we're going to be live throughout the entire draft. That's all 3 days. If anybody remembers, that was a marathon last year. If you were with us through the whole thing, more power to you. Thank you for sticking with us. But it is such a good time just getting to talk football for an entire weekend. And so that'll be starting on Thursday for the first round and going through the seventh round. And also go ahead.
And I was going to say, guys, make sure you join Scott Kennedy and myself tomorrow morning again, coming at you live. We've been live every day this week. We're going to do it again tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, God's time. So I've been enjoying this little short venture with Scott. He's more of an Atlanta Falcons fan. He is going to be beside himself if they take Kyle Pitts, because he really wants a quarterback. And I said, get in line. I guess I need to get in line because he's with the Falcons picking above us, but we'll see what happens. But again, that's Broncos for breakfast, and we're going to be coming at you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday as well, to bring you some early coverage. I know it's essentially the game. The draft day 3 kicks off pretty early, but we'll see. I'll see what Scott is feeling there, and if I'm feeling it, man, after I need to maybe prep myself, do some meditation, a coffee enema before day 3 of the NFL draft, because my God. And speaking of my God, we have Stephen Baumgartner coming in today. Again today. He was in the chat this morning as well. Stephen, a maniac out there in Nebraska. I won't even give you a hard time about the Cornhuskers. I will not say anything negative. Won't say anything positive either, but I will not say anything negative. Hey guys, go Broncos. Drew Lock is my quarterback. Well, Stephen, there's definitely a possibility where he's going to be all of our quarterbacks coming out of this in 2 days, 3 days. So we'll see there. It does sound like, I think it was Palmer said today that the Broncos are going to make a move for a quarterback regardless of the NFL draft. So Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles, Gardner Minshew, those are probably the most prominent names. Are there any dark horses there that I'm missing? I guess Jimmy Garoppolo is another one that's a possibility at this point.
I saw they were saying they're going to be pretty aggressive in trying to get him moved. So
God, Kyle Shanahan, my God. Can you say anything about guaranteeing if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on this roster? I can't guarantee if if anybody on the human race is going to be alive come Thursday. Let alone, oh my God, you're dark, man. Just say less. Say less.
Yeah. But anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about some scenarios that do have the Broncos sticking with Luck and trying to surround him with some very good talent. And so, yes, very, very excited. Let's just kind of jump into this.
Can we say hello to some more folks first?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
We got Charlie Beagle in here. He says he's going to be auditioning for this team next year, I think. Charlie, line up, baby. You're going to get in here. Mike Woodward has been very active today. Mike, how you doing? That's a cute kid there in the fire trucker hat. It sounds like Juwan James is looking and acting like he is ready to play football this year. So fingers crossed there. We got a friend of mine from high school, Jacob Federer, coming in saying it's field season. So he might like that first pick of the mock draft that I have coming in. Jimmy Shore's in here saying I sweat a lot. Thank you, Jimmy. It's good to know that we're not alone. If there's ever an apocalypse, I'm going to be dehydrated dead quickly. It's just going to happen. Greg Smith saying, good evening, fellows. 2 more wake-ups. Go Broncos. G. Woodworth, 1107's in here with a cute frog pick. Cute. Thank you very much. And we got Cam Wirtz in the house. Robert Caslow's in the house. Tragic part is if a good performance will get James a good contract. I think either way, even if James plays well at the this season, I think there's going to be a divorce at the end of this year. I don't think either side trust each other, which is unfortunate. We get Miguel Miguel S. How you doing, Miguel? Sup, fellas? You need to spell it out phonetically for me. In the thing, I don't want to get your name wrong because you're in here. I know you're in here multiple times. Say it again.
Santistavin.
I like it. Speaking of also another person like John Libick. How you doing, Libick? Thank you very much for joining us. We got Christopher Espinoza saying, happy draft week, guys. It's like NFL Christmas, and it's almost time to unwrap the presents. Well, heck yeah. We definitely agree with that. Phoenix Fire coming in here. Don't forget to smash the like button. Phoenix coming in with a fire as well. Man, what a name. I am here for that. Albert Knopper's obviously a good friend. Tim Durr, what up, Bronco Country? Goofy's in the house. Speaking of what, let's get a little bit goofy in here. Let's talk about the Broncos picking at 9. We are in the goofy season. Some would say silly season, but goofy, just giving me way too good of a transition there. So the Broncos picking at 9. Every single rumor available. They're trading up for a quarterback. They like Lance. They like Fields. They like Mac Jones. They don't like any of them. They like Locke. They want to give Locke competition. They want to trade back. They're going to take a linebacker. They're going to take an offensive tackle. What's going to happen? God, if only we knew. George Payton, Rick Spielman today. I wish I knew what the Broncos were doing at 9. Get in line. And Rivera saying Locke is my backup quarterback. You are funny one. Good job. Thanks, Nick. And a follow on Twitch. Good call, guys. And tuned in from the islands. What's up, guys? I'm tuned in way from the islands. Which islands are you at? Let us know. I'm assuming that's Hawaii, but let me know. I want to live vicariously through you because it is cold up here in the Pacific Northwest right now. So 9 first, Carl. Let's go with just sticking at 9. What are the most probable non-quarterback picks for the Broncos at 9, if there are any? And then let's get through and grade them. And guys in the comment section as well, drop your grades as well. I want to know what you're saying. I want to know where you're at. This is not just Carl and I talking at you guys. We're talking with you guys, talking through you guys. So let us know what you're thinking. Let's say first, Penei Sewell, pick number 9. He's a guy that the Broncos early in the draft process, a year ago, if you say the Broncos are walking out of the draft with Penei Sewell, that's ecstatic. That means maybe Drew Lock played bad, but like you're coming out with a player. It seems like the closer we've gotten to this process, because we didn't see him this year, he's being knocked down a little bit. I wouldn't put him above any of the top 4 tackles last season. That being Tristan Wirfs. God, I love you, Tristan. Love you, boy. Mekhi Becton, who was phenomenal this year. Jedrick Wills, who was awesome this past year. And Andrew Thomas, who was up and down, but started playing better down the stretch. So Sewell's right around there. So what do you think about Sewell? How does that fit? What kind of grade would you give for the Broncos?
I would give it a B+.
Okay.
I'm not going to an A just because, one, he sat out this last year, and I just don't know, one, what kind of shape he's in. We didn't get that extra tape. And so, he's got plenty of tape out there of really good play, but there were still some things that you would like to see his game being worked on. And anybody that sits out a year, there's some rust that comes with that. And we don't even know if he'd start this year. So it might be 2 seasons of him not playing any kind of quality football before he actually sees the field. So there's some concerns there. We have also heard some concerns of maturity with him, that he's just not the most mature. He's not the most coachable kind of guy.
He's so young.
He is. And I have to always keep that in mind, that these are 20, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. And when I was 2021, I was not the most mature guy out there for sure.
Hanging out in the A-hole in
yes.
Manhattan, Kansas.
That's right.
No inside jokes.
That's right. No. So there would be some concern. I think there's a lot more risk with him than some other players that could be available. But he's still an uber talented player and a guy that could turn into a true star, especially when you pair him with Munchak. Mm-hmm. If he takes to the coaching of Munchak, he could turn into the best tackle in football. That's how talented he is and how talented Munchak is. Like I keep saying, Munchak bumps a player up a level. If you're good, he can make you great. If you're great, he can make you a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I would love that pick. I really would. There'd just be some concerns with it.
Yeah, I have Penei Sewell is my 6th overall player on my board. I do heavily weight positional value, so quarterbacks are 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just get that out of the way so you guys don't have to worry. Oh, Penei Sewell that low because quarterback. I think Sewell would be a good fit on this team. I am curious. It does seem like the Broncos prefer Slater, and Slater's definitely a more refined player. He probably will be better year one. Even I don't think that's crazy to say, but Sewell is a better athlete, more powerful player, and slightly better prototype size as well. I mean, none of these guys really had the arm length that you'd want, but at least he was like 34 and a half, 34 and a quarter, or 33 and a quarter, 33 and a half arm length, whereas Slater was exactly 33. And I think Sewell's a better projection for an inside zone gap scheme. So taking him at 9, I would give it. Did you give it a grade? Did you say B+?
Yeah, I said B plus. Yep.
Okay. I would give it a B-, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. Every single pick at 9, just with how this board is going to be, unless it's a quarterback, I'm not going to give it the highest grade because I am very much if you're not taking a quarterback, you need to probably kick back and accumulate assets because you need to give yourself, I've said it in here. My opinion is that getting a quarterback is a high stake game of poker, and you need to have the capital accumulated to even buy into the table. And right now, Broncos are behind because they're not going to be picking in the top 10 next year. Knock on wood. Probably not. The roster is too good unless you have another crazy injury year, which God forbid. And then also you have teams like the Detroit Lions. You have teams like the Philadelphia Eagles. You have teams like Miami, who doesn't know about Tua. All those teams have way more resources for 2022 than you do. So you want to give yourself a position, a leg up where you can be flexible and pivot if Drew Lock has another season in 2021 like he did in 2020. And you move on, obviously, then you have to have that accumulation. So that's just me. The rubric is not filled out. You're getting a 0 for setting yourself up to go get a quarterback. So B- for me on that one.
Yeah.
So we got Ann Rivera. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a great question to go with this. Can he play right tackle? There would be an adjustment. I mean, you're asking. People kind of think that offensive linemen can switch sides and it's no big deal, but you're talking complete opposite footwork. You're talking about how you're using your hands in a completely opposite direction. I mean, it really is kind of going from I'm a righty, so writing with my right hand compared to writing with my left hand. Mm-hmm. It would take time, and thankfully with the Broncos, he probably wouldn't be asked to start right away. So you could train him up on being on that right tackle spot because I really don't want to move Bowles.
No,
I've heard people say just move him to right tackle. No, he's doing great at left tackle. He's got himself cemented in that spot. You're paying him as a left tackle. Keep him there.
I will push back a little bit to you with one comment you said where Sewell would be a backup. He's getting out there. I don't know where he's going to play year one, but he's getting out there. So Dalton Reissner, Lloyd Cushenberry, Graham Glasgow, Juwan James, Natane Moody, bring it. The best 5 play. Bowles is the only guy that I have written in Sharpie at left tackle. So if Penny Sewell beats out Juwan James at right tackle, awesome. If Penny Sewell's best position is right guard, and then it's between Graham Glasgow and Lloyd Cushenberry. I don't care what I'm paying any of those guys. They're already paid. I'm going to play the best guys out there. What they've been paid doesn't mean anything to me. And then left guard, also Dalton Reissner, kind of not the best season last year, right? Dealing with some injuries, but kind of a step back from his rookie season. So he's another one. Left guard. Everybody should be on notice. And the only one that I feel comfortable about writing in Sharpie for that line, if you do get Penny Sewell, is Garrett Bowles at left tackle, even though Sewell has been left tackle. And just a common, I guess it's a cliche, but a funny, not a limerick, but switching from left tackle to right tackle for the offensive line would be like going from your dominant hand to your non-dominant hand, wiping your butt. That's what offensive linemen say. That's, I think, a Howard Mudd, appropriate last name there, said about switching offensive line sides. It's not as easy as that. It's uncomfortable. So not uncomfortable. Jay showing off the hair there. Nice to see you, Jay. I'm not rocking the curly hair game. The hair's a little bit short for that, but we appreciate that. Mark Langley coming in. Mark, it's been a bit. How you doing, bud? Let us know. Carl, then later, Nick. Nick is a real Drew Lock fan. Just look at that hair, baby. Oh, man. Drew and I go to the same barber. Carl, then nice guy. Nick, you rock, dude. Building the Broncos. Well, thank you so much, Mark. That was really nice. Yeah, I saw Drew Lock's hair when I went down to his pro day, and I was like, oh, man, I got to get me one of those. I used to have the mop top kind of like Jay going on here. Did I get a haircut? I did get a haircut. The wife said, Nick, it's time. So I appreciate that. Speaking of time, guys, just a reminder, the next time you see Carl, not the next time you see Carl, but soon when you see Carl, he might have that glorious monkey tail on the beard. So if the Broncos do end up getting a quarterback not named Mac Jones in the first round, and probably Kellen Mond, I guess we probably throw that out there too. You're not doing it if Broncos trade back up in the first round for Kellen Mond, right?
No, not at all. It's Fields or Lance, or unless I guess I'll throw Wilson in there just in case something weird happens, or Lawrence. I can't leave them out. If it's any of the top 4 of my top 4, I will do the monkey tail. The beard needs trimmed up anyway, so I'm really hoping that means it's going to happen.
And El Bronco coming in here. I thought Cush was good at center. He struggled really to start last year at center. He kind of got it at the end, but again, the offensive line, you are as good as your weakest player. So it's a best 5 approach. It's why they really preach that these guys cross-train for different positions when they're coming into the league. So it's not that Cush wasn't good. It's just that you need to figure out how to get the best 5 out there. And if you're using the number 9 overall pick on an offensive lineman, he better be playing, right? Like that's not like a rotational position like edge rusher, interior defensive line, cornerback, wide receiver, where you can kind of split reps. Like that guy should be playing. So speaking of playing here, thank you for the question, El Bronco. Speaking of playing, I think we should pivot to the guy who I would say is the most likely non-quarterback target for the Broncos at 9, and that is Rashaan Slater. Now, I do know there is a slight concern with the back on a medical check that he had. From what I've heard, that's going to vary from team to team. And I think Cushenberry is going to kill it next year too, Tim Durr. It's just, talking about possibilities here, right? You're going to have to do some shuffling if you bring in somebody like that. It's a good problem to have. Oh, we have too much quality offensive line. Oh, woe is me. Cody Potter coming in here too. IMO, this is a make or break year for this stuff. Why give them a rookie quarterback with our same staff that ruined Locke? Denver will trade back, take a linebacker whom Fangio needs, a.k.a. Willis Smith. Vic can win with average quarterback play. Carl, I'm going to tee this one up to you because I'm guessing you have some thoughts. I'll leave that one up here too because Cody, very generous with the $20 super. We really appreciate that. Cody, you got to get that new Denver Bronco draft hat though. I think that one's a couple years old now.
The truck hat?
Yeah. It'll be beautiful if I like the pick.
Yeah.
That's really going to determine if I like the hat.
So, one, I think the Broncos are really set up well for a rookie quarterback to come in and be successful right away. You got weapons galore through wide receivers, tight end. I know some people don't like Melvin Gordon, but he's a good running back. He was a top 10 running back last year. And the Broncos have an offensive line that all 5, if they don't bring somebody else in, look pretty darn set. That can actually make it pretty easy for a rookie quarterback. The Broncos last year had to slim down the playbook quite a bit just for Drew Lock to function. So you can slim it down for any of these rookies, and especially if you get Trey Lance or Justin Fields. The great thing with them is if the play breaks down, things aren't going the way it should be, you can tell them, just take off running. I mean, that's exactly what they told Cam Newton when he was a rookie. Dude, things are failing, run. That you always have that ability. Drew Lock doesn't have that ability. Not to their level, I should say. He's an athlete, just not an uber athlete like those two would be. And so I still think a rookie could come in here and find success. I don't completely put everything on this coaching staff. I still think it's a really good coaching staff. I like their wide receiver coach. I like their running back coach. Obviously, Munchak, I think I've hyped him up a little bit on this show a few times. I really like what he's doing. Pat Shurmur, I'd put him at middle of the pack when it comes to offensive coordinators. He's not great, but he's not the worst out there either. There's a lot worse. I can guarantee you that. And so, yes, Locke did regress last year with Shurmur, but I don't put that all on Shurmur either. Locke didn't do some of the things that he did his rookie year. His footwork got all wonky out there. His arm slots were just getting pretty crazy. He wasn't playing within the play itself. He was going for the big play a lot of times. I know a lot of people said his depth of throw, like he was being asked to throw deep. They ran a lot of underneath routes that he could have hit. He chose to take the deep throw. That's on the quarterback. Like a coordinator can drop the play. The quarterback still has to make the decision where the football's going. There was guys running wide open underneath. And a lot of Shurmur's plays are actually a lot more underneath stuff. So again, I don't put it all on Shurmur, but I don't put it all on Locke either. But I still think a rookie could come in here and find success for this team and get them where they want to go. They're going to have a very strong defense. They're going to have a strong running game. They're going to have weapons that just get it in their hands, let them go make a play. And so a rookie's really going to come in here. It's kind of like, I think of Russell Wilson, his rookie year. He was asked to make a few plays a game. If he can do that, the team's going to win a lot of games. So any of these rookies that come in, that's all they're going to really have to do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And we got Robert Cazzo saying, I said it before, don't like quarterbacks who become running backs, too likely to get injured. I honestly, I feel like there's been studies to show that like guys taking off, there's running the right way, right? And there's also running where you're putting yourself in harm. Like watching Lamar Jackson run around, hasn't gotten injured yet, but at Louisville, he set himself up to get teed off a few times. And sometimes you see that with Trey Lance too, right? Like he's bulldozing FCS linebacker. Let's not do that against, God, I don't know, Kenneth Murray for the Chargers, right? Like, let's not do that. So you're gonna have to learn a little bit, but I think the running ability is more so defenses have to respect you. Otherwise you can take off, and that changes the type of coverages that you are seeing. You have to have your eyes on the quarterback. You cannot play as much like, man coverage, because that means that there are going to be chances where your back is to the line of scrimmage and that quarterback takes off. Also, you have to have a spy sometimes. You have to rush differently, right? You have to be more disciplined in how you attack the line of scrimmage and how you're going to rush the quarterback, because if you are a little bit undisciplined with your gap, that quarterback's going to step up and take off. So it's more of a get-out-of-jail-free card, I think, than actually being a running quarterback per se. So let's get to David Cromello here real quick.
Sorry. Let me finish, because Cody said, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it, although I like these quarterbacks, but not this staff. Now, this staff, it is a make or break year.
Yeah.
If they don't find a way to start winning some games, they're going to be gone. So I do agree there. I think that there's some problems with this coaching staff. I think they can do a lot better, and they definitely have to. But I still think that they can find ways to win with a rookie quarterback, because, I mean, Drew Lock didn't do anything to help him last year. And so either way, and even if you bring in a new coaching staff, well, hey, it looks good when you have a rookie quarterback that they really like, that they can come work with. Boom. That makes it a lot easier to bring in a coach that you really like.
Yep. Just ask the Chargers. They got the guy they wanted. David Cromello coming in here, friend of the show. I was just on David's live stream the other day, so thank you for having me on, David. Always appreciate talking with you. Play the Final Jeopardy theme on loop these next 2 days to distract you from the wild rumors that are about to surface. Hold me to my word, guys. I mean, it's lion season, right? I feel like it's a good strategy. I don't know where exactly it comes from. There's something in history where it's like an information overload, right? Where you throw out everything that could possibly happen under the sun, and that way, like what your actual plans are and your thoughts are going to leak. But then if you're throwing out 75% just pure BS as well, people aren't going to know what exactly is the right information. It's an information overload. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, and the other part of this, and we've seen it the last few years, some teams play really dirty this time of year.
Yes.
Where they get some information on the player, maybe some old tweets from like when they were like 14 years old, and boom, put them out there. Josh Allen. I can't remember which team it was. It the Cardinals
that did
Cardinals. That? Yeah. Cardinals released a bunch.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Released a bunch of tweets that Josh Allen had made when he was in high school that were, I can't remember were they racist in nature?
They were rap lyrics. So we'll leave it at that, but
okay. Yeah.
Not great.
Yeah. And I mean, you think of, who was it? Why am I spacing his name every single time? The offensive tackle for Houston.
Larry Tunsil.
Yeah, Tunsil. That was like an hour before the draft. And he went from top 5 pick down to like 13 or 14. Lost millions of dollars because somebody decided to release that. Yeah, there we go. Larry Tunsil.
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah, so you look for something to happen in these next couple days where you see just this huge dump. I mean, I think we've seen it maybe a little bit with Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. There's been some weird videos coming out of him of some of his parties that he's gone to in college. The kid likes to drink. I don't think there's any way to get around that. He's got a couple DUIs and just made some pretty stupid mistakes. I'm surprised that's the player that they're trying to get to come down, but somebody likes him.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And John, would you take note of this one real quick? Buffalo Soldier asking for my email. Let's, I don't really want to give my personal email out here, but let's figure something out. Maybe my Facebook. I'll open up my DMs on Facebook since he does not have Twitter, but Buffalo Soldier, nice picture of Randy as well. Friend of the show out there in South Park. So let's get to where we wanted to go originally. Rashaan Slater, picking at 9. He's somebody that the Broncos are getting. I would say he's the guy who's most linked to the Broncos outside the quarterbacks for pick number 9. So that is an interesting one to me. And he is my, what he's, I want to say he's like my 7th player on the board. I have him and Sewell back to back. I like Sewell more. I think there's a difference there, but Slater's a very safe player, can play all 5 positions. I think he's scheme versatile. And, Duke Manyweather, Brandon Thorne speak super highly about him. Yep. So I would not really have an issue with him at all. But I'm just going to come right out and I'd give it a C+, because like I said earlier, it's if you're not taking a quarterback in this draft cycle, it needs to be asset accumulation, and that whether that be getting guys in filling future needs, so that way you can give up 2022 capital without like worrying about like, oh, are we going to do a cornerback? We have 2 cornerbacks going to be free agents next year. What are we going to do at linebacker? We have 2 linebackers going to be free agent next year. Right tackle, running back, safety. So the asset accumulation can also be filling future needs right now, so that way you can give up picks next year as well.
Well, so I checked out Arif for The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his last name.
Hassan.
Didn't we have him on the show?
We had him on when the Broncos first hired Shermer because he covers the Vikings.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, he's the one that does the cumulative mock draft big board.
Mm-hmm.
And he just released an article, I think today, showing which players had the biggest difference in where they were put at. And those that were right there pretty much on every single board. Rashaan Slater was I think the most consistent player on every board, right there in that kind of 5th through 10th area. Just almost every board had him in there. So if you're looking for a true, I think pretty safe pick at that point there at 9, yeah, I think he's your guy. And I would give that one a solid B. I don't see him turning into an absolute star at the position, but I see him being a true 10, 15 year quality starter for you at that right tackle spot. Plus the great thing with him, he really does have a lot of versatility of where you can put him on that offensive line early on and eventually then move him out there to that tackle spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see we have 266 people in here according to my numbers. So guys, if you haven't done that yet, click the like or heart if you're joining us on Facebook. Also like, subscribe, and share if you're joining us on YouTube. That can help us a lot. Just everybody in here right now, if you're enjoying the content, help us out. So Slater, I think it's a good one. And it's something to be said about Slater as well in this is that he, especially in this draft, he's as safe as it gets, right? Like you're not really super worried about him busting. Maybe he's not going to be a superstar, but you're going with an incomplete picture this year. And if you want to really just fortify a position, invest in it, it's like making sure you eat your vegetables so you can get cake later. Great. I still think, again, just in principle, I would rather them have traded down to get future assets, maybe make a run for Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, et cetera, Russell Wilson, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see. And we got Jimmy coming in here saying Slater is not better than Tevin Jenkins. I think Slater is younger than Tevin Jenkins. I think he's a little bit more scheme versatile. I do like Tevin Jenkins. Joseph Osai kind of made him look silly a few times, but I really like Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins is my number 9 overall player. I would not put him above Slater, though. But if Tevin Jenkins ended up better than Slater, then I wouldn't be that shocked. But I think more scenarios are not. Slater ends up being better than Jenkins.
I would say Jenkins, it matters a little bit more where he goes. If he goes to a run-heavy team, then sky's the limit for that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
He could really make that go from a good running team to one of the most dominant in football. Just that he's got that part of the game down. He's still got some work to do in the pass game. But, he could turn into the best offensive tackle of this draft. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah. I say C- with the grade? I meant C+. Sorry, I know that's a tough grade, but Slater, highest floor from Veach coming in here on Twitch. Friend of the Twitch guys. Hey, Twitch people, shout out. F in the chat. Highest floor, can you help this year? Or highest floor can help this year. Flexibility, raises OL, build the future. A C- grade, Nick? Don't think so. Well, Slater, it's fine that we disagree. It's just the Broncos are in a position right now where they're probably going to be better next year, and they don't have extra picks or anything that you're going to sell off. So if you're looking to give yourself a leg up, to have a chance to go for a quarterback, whether it be trading up or anything like that, in the more than likely than not probability that Drew Lock does not end up being the guy. Sorry, that's just the data. Then I would probably rather them trade back. But I'm a tough grader. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give everybody an A+. Like even trading up for a quarterback, I'd be like, well, not an A+ because I had to give up assets. I'm going to be a jerk. We're going by a true C. It's not this make believe grading system where like the average is an A-. So C+.
You never want Nick to be your professor. Let's just say that. I'm
fun, but like when you get to the grade, I guess what you get.
Yeah.
F from Gabriel. No, I was kidding. Thank you. I set that one up perfectly.
Right.
We got a chat coming in here from Based Gase as well. What realistic pick at 9 would disappoint you the most other than Parsons? Well, you took off my number 1 there. It's not like I'm mad about it, but I would be disappointed in the Broncos if they had done that, given all the stuff and the positional value. There's even more data that came out. I should do an article on it, but you're as likely, if not more likely, to find starting caliber linebackers day 2 than you are day 1. Why? I don't know. It's a really weird trend. You think guys picked earlier would be found, but you're more likely to find a good linebacker day 2. What do I know? And a top 10 starter, a top 25% starter for, according to PFF's grade since 2011. So really interesting. But what realistic pick at 9 would disappoint you other than Parsons? I'm going to go with JC Horn. I saw that Bucky Brooks mocked him to the Broncos today at 9. I keep going back and forth between JC Horn and Patrick Surtain. I think I've come back around to have Patrick Surtain higher than Horn just because Horn is so grabby and you need to hit some doubles, right? Like it's quarterback, home run, but a cornerback position, I would be fine with a double. I'm coming back to Surtain. I don't think he's the best scheme fit, and Caleb Farley news kind of really threw me out of whack with this cornerback class. Greg Newsome should be talked about with those guys, but I would say JC Horn out there. Bucky Brooks, did you see what his comments were today for that draft? I was just like, oh my God. He's like, oh man, Broncos get a cornerback here. JC Horn, he's one of the best press man cornerbacks in this draft. I'm like, know the team you're talking about, Bucky. I really like what you do, but like,
right.
That's not the Broncos. They don't use press man. Like what? I don't know. I don't know. Not great.
Yeah. I guess I would, I'll go JOK.
Okay.
I see a lot of people. Yeah. I like the player. I do have some issues, like I said, with fit. I have some issues with the value. I mean, just linebacker, off-ball linebacker. Like you said, you can find really quality guys, especially in this draft. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be my hardest part, especially if we take Parsons or JOK there at 9. Is just all those guys that you can get second, third round that are going to be quality players that either could start this year or at least will be starting next year. Yeah. So I just would rather stay away from that position just because I know I can get a starter later.
We got Jay coming in here. Best adult beverage for the draft. Let's see what the Broncos. That is going to be determined by what happens in the draft. So it's going to be reactionary. I will let you. I might have to leave during the draft to go change my drink choice. I'll probably start with a beer, but we might have to change quickly. Oh man, here's the F scenario. Najee Harris at 9 coming in on Periscope from Cameron Rumble. That's probably the F. I think Najee Harris will probably go in the top 25. I would not want to be that team, but what can you do? And Robot of Doom coming here. What Parsons would be great? I'm sorry, the assault stuff in the locker room with the playing a devalued position. I just not doing it. Count me out.
I think the hardest part for me is when you listen to the guy actually talk about that stuff.
No remorse.
Yeah, there's zero remorse for what he did. He's like, I made a mistake. Let's move on. And we're just like, dude, this is serious stuff. You need to really talk about this. You can't just push it to the side and say, no big deal. We've moved on.
And then James Franklin telling teammates not to talk to the police, like about incidences with Parsons. Like, are you kidding me? I'm sorry. Like the draft is already enough of a crapshoot. I don't want to take a guy, and I'm not asking these guys to be Boy Scouts, but there's a difference between, like, look at Ray Lewis, for example. But for every Ray Lewis, you have like 20 Reuben Fosters. So the draft is already a crapshoot. I'm not going to make it even harder taking a guy with character concerns as well. John Houston coming in here. I wish there was a Luke Kuechly in this draft. John, now we're talking. I was all about Kuechly. High character. I mean, watching him at Boston College, I've never seen linebacker tape like him in college. Ray Lewis before my day. What draft was the Luke Kuechly draft? That was the draft. Was it like 2010 or 2009? It was either like the draft right before Von Miller or the draft after. I wanted Kuechly so bad. I loved it.
I thought it was 2012.
Maybe it was 12. I don't know. Somebody in the chat.
Anybody knows? Yeah. You guys look it up for us. I appreciate it.
And I want to get to this real quick because we're already at 38 minutes. God, this has been the fastest. I'm like manic right now with all the rumors with the stuff and like waking up early to do these shows. I'm like drinking coffee right now at 5:40. So this is what I would grade it, honestly, where I would grade Surtain and Horn for the Broncos. Honestly, actually, I'd bump them down each a half a grade. So it would be a C for Surtain and a D+ for Horn at 9. If they traded back to like 12 or 16, we're a different conversation. But at 9, it's miss me with that. Yep. So, and Bill's saying 2012. Oh, and John's saying 2012 as well. So let's get to this one. John Houston coming again. You guys sleeping on Davis Mills, potential sleeper? I guess if he's a sleeper, then in that name we would be. But I mean, you want to talk about people are upset about Trey Lance maybe going. Like, not only is Davis Mills have less starts, but he's been injured as well. So, I mean, I would take a shot on him round 3 or 4, but that's for me. And I see other people, man, Parsons is going to be really interesting to see what happens with where he goes. A lot of people having interesting opinions there. And Carl, you said JOK would be one of your worst ones here. We got Flying Dragon Films, who's been joining us for Broncos for breakfast. So appreciate you, Flying Dragon Films. Anybody who's joining us for the morning crew, coffee in hand. I had a donut this morning on the show. We're having fun. Flying Dragon Films. JOK would be a great choice, just not at 9. So what do you think? Let's first at 9, and then let's say at 16.
Yeah, at 9, I'd give it a D.
A D. Okay.
Yes, and that I'm a pretty lenient grader.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just quality of the draft at the position. Player doesn't exactly fit perfect within the system that you have, so you have to change up your scheme for this one player. This was kind of our issues last year with what's his name from
Isaiah
Clemson.
Simmons.
Yeah, Isaiah Simmons. I love the player, but how do you make him work within your system? And I liked Isaiah Simmons a lot more than I do like JOK. But yeah, trade back. Maybe you can make it work. You get a little more assets to figure some things out in that 16 to 20 range. I could be okay with it. It's still not going to be my favorite pick. I still have other players that I have much higher rated than him that I think are a lot more of a seamless move into the defense. It just, like I said, it's just hard to see how you're going to perfectly play him. He has a niche and he can do it well of being able to cover those tight ends when you need him to on some of those man-to-man coverage. But that's just not enough for me to want to use a top 10 pick or even a top 15 pick. That 16 to 20 range, that's where I start feeling a little bit more okay with it. Probably bump it up to a C plus kind of grade because we get some draft compensation back. But it's just not for me.
Yeah, I think we should trade the whole draft for Ricky Williams, says Joe Mannix. Thank you, Joe, for the throwback there. I think that JOK, it's just I have a really hard time thinking where he's fitting in this defense. You'd have to, Mike coming in saying he'd need to bulk up. You're talking about a linebacker who he weighed in at Notre Dame's Pro Day at 220 pounds. Where does that rank percentile-wise versus all linebackers for Pro Day data and Combine data dating back to 1995? What size? What percentile do you think 220-pound linebacker is?
5%.
Second percentile.
Ooh.
Second percentile. And there's a lot of people who have Dane Brugler, who's way more connected than me. Probably if you guys haven't checked out The Beast on The Athletic, it is an absolute masterpiece and a monster, hence The Beast. And he said that JOK this past season played down closer to 205 and 210 pounds. I don't know where that guy plays in this scheme because Fangio does not use the box linebacker type. He prefers his safeties. A lot of times it's the two deeps, or they'll come in and play the slot. So Kareem Jackson, fine. Safeties who are also cornerbacks, fine. They're playing deep, right? They're not doing as much of the run filling. But that's the issue. Also, it's a lot of run fill between the tackles for those linebackers. So he's not a clean fit for a Josie Jewell replacement. He's not a clean fit for a Kareem Jackson replacement. He more fits replacing a guy like Will Parks, which was a dimebacker for the Broncos. So are you using a top 20 pick on a dimebacker who's going to play 25% of your defensive snaps, maybe 30? Or are you going to see a total philosophical change from Vic Fangio schematically, which he could do, right? He could do, but all I can go off of is what he's asked for historically from his defense schematically. And a guy like JOK, he just has not used. So I don't know. I have a really hard time pinning him here. Now, if Vic Fangio came to me and said, look, we're going to be running way more dime. We're going to use him third down where I'm going to flex out my linebackers more to cover tight ends and running backs in space. And we need that guy. It's not a luxury in the AFC West because we have Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. If I was George Payton and Vic came up to me and said that and we were picking 15 to 20, you better damn well use this guy, but okay. I would get it then, but it's not the easiest fit. It's not a clean fit. Veach coming in here. I guess Vic has to put on his innovator goggles for JOK. And if anybody can do it, it's Vic Fangio. He's seen a thing or two, right? Like old man running one of the best innovative defenses in football. He could do it, but it's all I can go off is what schematically I've studied and seen. That's not a guy that he's used. John Houston coming in here. B. Marsh said Parsons is Vaughn and Lewis is Lewis in one. Agree. I don't know what B-Marsh you're talking about, but
Brandon Marshall, I'm guessing.
Well, there's
the
two
linebacker.
linebacker.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I'm going to guess it's linebacker Brandon Marshall, but I don't know. Anyway, one, players always hype up other players.
Mm-hmm.
You rarely hear a player say, you know what? No, this guy's trash. I wouldn't even touch him. They're always hyping him up.
Yeah.
Two, Parsons, maybe he could be that. Okay, the guy is uber talented.
Mm-hmm.
Athletically speaking, the guy is off the charts. Everything you're looking for athletically. But character-wise, mental makeup-wise, there's just so many red flags there. I'm willing to let somebody else take that chance that he's going to turn into a Hall of Fame player and just be kicking myself later down the road going, man, I wish we would have drafted him.
There's a difference between process and results. Yeah.
And I saw one play. They laughed. They said he had a negative play or it was a positive play on his end, but had a tackle for loss for like -8 yards where he happened to be in position for a reverse. But
yes,
he was reverse. Yeah, it was a double reverse. He got so faked out, he happened to end up in position to make the play. And like it's on all of his highlight reels. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at this play. He lucked into that play because he got so turned around. He just kind of stood there and was like, oh, what do I do? Oh, here comes a guy. Boom, hit him.
Sometimes we talk about process versus results, right? That's bad process, good results.
Yeah.
Speaking of good process here, Naj Altaf coming in here. Naj, we haven't seen you a bit. How you doing, buddy? Looks like your family's healthy and happy and out there thriving. Hey, brothers, do you believe the Broncos are a better team long-term if they get Lance or Fields versus keeping Lonk? Do you have a preference at quarterback from this class that the Broncos may be able to trade down for? Interesting. So a two-part question here. Long-term for the Broncos, I mean, Naj, you got to come on here more often because anybody can tell you I'm very pro Lance and Fields. I have Fields my quarterback too. He does seem to be dropping for whatever reason. I have my doubts about that. I feel like it might be University of Georgia staff bad-mouthing him after – I mean, I would bad-mouth him too after having to deal with Jake Fromm and JT Daniels these last few years. Sorry, Carl, I know you're a JT Daniels fan, but
not as much anymore. I'm coming around to the idea that he could be a good college quarterback and not a great NFL quarterback.
Yeah, it's just, man, milk toast. I'm not so done with the milk toast quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I think I would take a shot at Fields or Lance if I had the chance now. I totally understand where rumored George Payton is coming from saying I do not want to give up that 2022 first. Because let's say everything goes totally off the rails next year and that 2022 first ends up like the second overall pick. Like you're in a bad spot there, right? Like you never want to be that. That's everybody's laughing at the Houston Texans because they've done that twice in the last 5 years where it's been a top 5 pick. The Browns got Denzel Ward once and now Miami keeps kicking the can and doing a really awesome job building up draft assets with future picks. Yeah. I would take either Fields or Lance. Do I have a preference with one or the other? I have Lance or Fields to Lance 4. I'd be happy. They're my second and 4 player on my board. I'd be happy as a pig in mud with either. Trading back, if the Broncos are trading back, I'm trading that pick for like a Teddy Bridgewater or a Gardner Minshew. Like we're talking about milquetoast quarterbacks. I'm sorry. But I think I would rather do that than take another scratcher lottery ticket. It's not even high odds. We're not playing the slots, right? It's investing in penny stocks, taking a quarterback day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So, and it's a really bad quarterback class. It drops off so quick. Here, let me pull up the big word. Carl, you can answer this. I'm going to pull up maybe there is a deep sleeper in here that I might take round 7.
So, I mean, there's guys that I could see a little bit of glimpse of hope, like a Davis Mills. I mean, we had that question earlier about him being the sleeper. There's games where he looks like the worst quarterback in this draft. And in that same game, after halftime, boom, he turns it on, looks like one of the best quarterbacks in this draft.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, he is such a high risk pick. And I do think somebody will probably take a chance on him day 2, maybe even end of round 1. We've heard some conversation. There might be that true 6th quarterback that goes at the end of round 1. Somebody might think, he was one of the top quarterback prospects in the country at one point. It is so crazy. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and Davis Mills all lived within 20 miles of each other. All 5-star recruits, all of them. 2 of them were the number 1 quarterback in their draft class, back to back there. And so somebody might just be banking on that he's going to turn into something. We've seen that before where players or teams just sit there and bank on that athletic profile panning out, that somehow it's just all going to click. And And so I guess, but I'm not willing to spend a second round pick on him either.
Yeah.
I'm going to let somebody else do that. And so
There's
if I miss out on
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if I miss out on the top 5 guys, I'm probably waiting until at least the 4th round before I look at the quarterback group.
That I was going to make a point about the 4th round as well. So we got Cam Wirtz coming in here. I know my sleeper quarterback that after looking at the board, maybe throw a 7th round pick at Zach Thomas from Appalachian State because he's a solid athlete, but he still has some work to do right now. Maybe I have a little bit of soft spot for Appalachian State as well. But we got Cam Wirtz coming in here. Would Christian Barmore be a good pick if we traded down? This is an interesting one. I think this is an interesting one because the Broncos don't really need defensive line that early. Like they're pretty set for this year, but defensive line is a developmental position, right? You're not drafting guys on the defensive line for what they're going to do their rookie year. If you can get anything from them, even first round picks their rookie year, that's awesome. But more so that's a developmental position. So I would get it. I think that you're probably better off looking day 3, maybe day 2, but day 3 as well. I mean, maybe the Broncos will keep drafting those round 3 defensive linemen because that seems what they like to do. But Barmore, I probably would not do it. And there's some quotes out there about him not being super coachable. I'm curious how much of a BS that is because it is that time of year. But I also think he's going to be artificially inflated because the interior defensive line class is so perceived as poor as far as the quality starters. I do think there are good depth pieces, rotational guys down the line, developmental picks. But I would probably not be super emphatic about it unless, like, say the Broncos got him at pick 32. He won't be there. But let's say they got him at 32. Okay. You got a lot of picks because you moved from 9 to 32. And now you made an investment in the interior defensive line. Okay, I get it. But I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Like I said, that hearing that rumor, and I think it was Zerline came out and said that it is something that he knows to be true, that it's not some smoke thing, that he's had it confirmed by a lot of different coaches that he is a guy that just doesn't take a whole lot to coaching. And you see it, I think, some in his film, just how like he can turn it on. When he turns it on, the guy is great. Yeah. But you see a lot of times where he just makes that decision that he's just going to kind of go through the motions and do his own thing and not always do what the defense calls him to do. And those kind of guys, that just doesn't work in a Vic Fangio defense.
Yeah.
The reason his defense works so great is because he got 11 guys doing their job and making things confusing for a quarterback. If you got some guy that's going solo, boom, there's a giant hole in that defense right at that point.
Yeah, and I don't know, did you see Michael Berry's mock draft today, his fantasy draft, Carl? God, I'm glad you did, because I don't know if you'd be here right now. Your heart might have exploded. He said the best fantasy implication draft hit for the Broncos would have been to take Jalen Waddle. So, man, that's not happening. Peyton said flat out, not taking a wide receiver, but that's why we're not even talking about it. Corey Christie coming in here. Our current linebackers wouldn't even start for any other team. I think that's pretty funny, Corey, just because I think Michael Clay had the Broncos linebackers as like the 5th best off-ball linebacker unit in the NFL. I do think that he's probably a little bit high on that end, but I think the Broncos starters are closer to league average than they are terrible. I mean, you look across the Broncos linebackers right now are better than the Raiders and the Chiefs, Chargers. The off-ball linebackers. The Chargers right around there. I mean, Kenneth Murray and I do like Drew Tranquil. So
yeah,
and what is Derwin? But so true. I don't know. I think you definitely could improve the linebacker position, but it's not like this area where like you are screwed if you don't address it. It would be nice to get more athleticism there. It's something I would target, but it's not going to mean that the defense falls apart this season. Defense falls apart when your defensive line is trash or injured, as the Vikings last year, or your cornerback room is down to 7th, 8th, and 9th strings. Look at the Broncos last year. That's when you're in trouble. So we had another one here from Mr. Boggins. There we go. I feel like people generalize quarterbacks year to year as the same level of talent just because they're drafted in 5 to 10 positional value is a reality. So that's very true. I mean, that's all. Look, what was it 2 years ago, 2019? You had 6 offensive linemen taken in the first round. 6 or 7. You had both Clemson guys, Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, Ed Oliver, Jeffrey Tillery, and there might have even been one more. It would be shocking this year if there were 2. So like saying, oh, this guy's interior defensive lineman one year compared to another year means absolutely nothing. Much more. It's much more to say like, this is like, let's say interior defensive lineman drafted in the top 10 historically. That's a much better indicator than ordinarily ranking them based on their draft class. Obviously we do that in the moment because we're trying to evaluate the talent. But if you're looking at a historical predictive vision at all. You need to look where those guys were selected and what type of outcomes you've had for that position in that range where they were selected. So year to year, it fluctuates greatly.
Right. And especially quarterbacks, there can be such a huge difference. I mean, that 2019, what was it? Drew Lock was quarterback number 4 taken off the board. Yes. And I'm not sure any of those quarterbacks, Kyler Murray would have an argument to be among the top 4 guys this year, but he's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Daniel Jones would easily be maybe even quarterback 6 of this draft.
I would have had him over Mac Jones just for the athleticism standpoint.
Okay. But I mean, it would be a conversation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's no way that he would be quarterback 2 in this draft. And so, you can't sit there and say, oh, Broncos took the 4th quarterback in this draft. That's just terrible. There's just some classes that are better than others. And the reality is the number 1 quarterback taken in a lot of drafts has not been the guy that's had the most successful in the NFL. I would say Kyler Murray is one that has done that. But that 2018, that was that great quarterback class. You could make an argument for either Josh Allen or for Lamar Jackson, quarterback number 3, quarterback number 5.
Year before that.
Last year, Herbert, he was quarterback number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty easy that he was the best quarterback this last year. Joe Burrow was looking great considering the talent he had around him, but Justin Herbert maybe just had the best quarterback rookie season that we've ever seen.
Bet on tools.
Yeah.
Bet on tools. Jay, I saw you said Phil Jurkovec, Boston College, the Notre Dame transfer. He's got solid arm talent. I think he's good. There's something there, but wish he was a little bit better of an athlete. Probably more of a day 2, day 3 kind of guy right now, but we have another year of college football. Things can change. So we'll see. Check back with me in 1 year. We got David Kilgore coming in here. What do you guys think about Skylar Thompson out of Kansas State? Carl, you're a Kansas State guy. I'll be honest with you. I have not watched any Skylar Thompson. No, you're not a Kansas State guy. I thought you were.
No, I'm not. Okay. No. So I went to school in Manhattan.
Okay.
That does not mean I was a K-State fan. I think I've said this on the here before, but Josh Freeman ruined K-State for me. The guy just was a jerk, grade A jerk. And I got to hear a story of one of the coaches slamming him against the wall because he was disrespectful to another person. And just telling him, you go over there and apologize right now. And him just be like, I'm not going to do it. And he finally went over there. But anyway, he's become a lot better from what I understand than what he was back then. But he was a grade A jerk. So, yes, I've never been a huge K-State guy. And honestly, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to him this year. Just they didn't have a whole lot of talent to pay attention to.
Yeah, no, that's man, Big 12. I don't know. Oklahoma's fun, but a lot of underwhelming football. Iowa State's good, unfortunately. God, I'm ready for Matt Campbell to leave. It's annoying. They're starting to take some of the good recruits in Iowa. Knock it off. I wonder if Jake Fetter is still in here. He's a big Iowa State fan. So let's keep going with some of these things. I think, Carl, if you're okay with it. Oh, it's your wife's birthday, though. We can't run too long.
It's fine. We can do a little bit more.
Because we still want to talk about some guys that might make some sense. I think just for the sake of how everything is laying right now and what we've heard about Jalen Phillips' medicals, let's not say that he's one. But let's say the Broncos trade down to 21 and take Jason Owe, edge rusher from Penn State. Where are you grading that one? And let's say they get a 2022 second and an extra second this year.
I would give that probably – I'd give it a B.
Okay.
The talent's there. I mean, he's – again, this class is just full of athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of the problem, though, is the tape is not always lined up with what they could be. And so you're seeing a guy that could get tons of pressure but didn't quite know how to finish plays.
I think he only played 6 games, which I think that does matter.
It does, because a lot of those kind of guys, they will have that one huge game where they get 4 or 5 sacks and then just really kind of inflate a lot of their stats on some of that. But I care a lot more about pressure than I do the sacks when it comes to college prospects. And he was great at getting pressure. And the great thing is he gets to sit a year, really. Not sit a year, but I mean, he's behind 2 guys, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, and gets to learn from those guys. And I kind of like the idea that the Broncos keep filling that position where, okay, you move Von Miller's money to Bradley Chubb. And then now you got this other guy that's on a cheap rookie contract for 5 years, and boom, you just kind of keep rotating that through. I mean, that's kind of what the the Ravens have done a lot. They just usually wait till like the third round to get their guy, and then they let them sit for like 2 years, put them in. That's the year that they draft some other guys to replace them, and it just kind of keeps going from there.
Okay, I want to answer Nasruddin Dehees coming in here saying that Jason Owa could be there at pick 40, but okay, pick 21. I mean, pick 15 to pick 40, put names in a hat and draw them out. That's how it's going to be this year. I mean, that's teams have first round grades and then a big mass of round 2 and round 3. So pick 21, pick 40. I don't actually think ordinarily you would say that, yes, there's a big difference there, but teams would not view those guys that different. So I agree with you. But that being said, somebody's going to bet on Jason Owe's athletic traits. I mean, people are talking about Micah Parsons testing out of the gym. Jason Owe tested like 2 times as good at like 40 more pounds. And plays a more valuable position. So somebody's going to take a swing on him. I think he's going to go higher than people think, especially Azeez Ojulari. Knee medical checks came back bad. Folks. I know we've been Azeez Ojulari fans here. Might fall to day 3. That's been some of the talk. So look out for that. Also, Jalen Phillips. Not only concussions, wrist and ankle concerns as well. Might fall. So Jason Owe is going to go high. I think he'd go higher than 21. I think 21 might be a little bit reaching for him. Let's 2 more here. I want to talk about 21. Then we got to get to the quarterbacks. A couple more guys that I like, unless there's somebody you want to shout out, Carl. But let's say the Broncos trade back average 20. Greg Newsome, same kind of deal. Let's say they traded 20. Let's say they get a 2021 first this time, and they take Greg Newsome at 20.
Honestly, I give it an A. 1, because you get a player that I think is a great fit for this system. And 2, you get that 2022 first round pick that gives you so much ability that next year of what you're going to do. Now, like you said, I do still think Miami and a couple other teams have more of what they can do to move around, but it still puts you pretty close up there of being one of the top teams of how you can control the draft. And so, like I said, you get a player that fits and you get that first round pick. That's a scenario I could be really, really happy with.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, there's a reason Peyton doesn't want to give up that first-round pick. The draft, let's see, which way do we go here? This way. Draft value, it drops really quickly, right? Like the first-round pick to the 32nd pick, you'd have to like trade 4 32nd overall picks to equal the first-round pick. So there's so much variance in value there where it's a logarithmic decay when you get to the second round, third round. Just the value drops slower or smaller and smaller. So getting that first round pick, it's a lottery ticket, but you have a chance to hit a jackpot there and get a top 5 pick where you have a chance to get a generational player maybe, or a quarterback, or go get like trade for Aaron Rodgers, et cetera. So if you can trade down and get a 2022 first, that's, man, sign me up.
Right.
Unless you're getting a quarterback. What about Tevin Jenkins?
Well, let me add real quick.
Okay.
I think there's only like 650 players that signed up for the draft this year. It's one of the lowest numbers they've ever had for the draft. You're looking at next year, maybe like 1,500 prospects declaring for the draft. So 2022 could be one of the most loaded drafts that we've ever seen. So if you can go get that first round pick, I mean, and this is kind of the risk. And this is why you're right. I don't think Peyton wants to give up that 2022 first round pick because he sees, hey, that 2022 draft, there's going to be some talent. Big time talent that gets in there.
Non-quarterback, probably. But.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Good point. You only use it if you absolutely are just like, this is our quarterback. I don't care that 2022 draft is going to be great. Yeah. So Tevin Jenkins, I'm good with that one too. It's a position of great value. It's a position of need that even if he does sit on the bench for the year, you get a year of training that guy and you get a seamless transition where whatever quarterback comes in for the Broncos, if it's Drew Lock moving forward, or if it's another guy, they've got the bookend tackles taken care of for the next 4 or 5 years. I'm really happy with that kind of decision. And like I said, you get another first round pick, you get add more talent to the roster. It's a win-win there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got Michael coming in here. How would you compare JOK to Isaiah Simmons compared to last year? So JOK probably a better, easier scheme fit, not for the Broncos, but just in general, right? Like I think 4-3 will, or a cover 1/cover 3 box safety, the strong safety. 2 things the Broncos don't use, but that's an easy fit. Isaiah Simmons, you were projecting him from safety down to like linebacker. It was a much harder transition. That said, Isaiah Simmons was a better athlete and bigger. So like, I think Isaiah Simmons is the better prospect. Doesn't mean he'll be the better player, but the better prospect, because guys with more size, more mass, more length that run, jump move better, like that guy's going to be more valuable, even though he might not be a better player, which is crazy. But your coaches are looking at these guys as balls of clay, right? Like they're trying to figure out what they can be, not what they are.
Yeah. And he is being a little bit hindered by the fact that he has Vance Joseph as his DC.
Yeah. Yep. So a couple more names I wanted to throw out here for Broncos, maybe in that trading back to like that 15 to 25 range. Somebody they've been linked to a good bit is Jamin Davis. I know somebody earlier said that the Broncos OA would be there at 40, Nazardine. Jamin Davis could be there at 40. I think that's probably not likely given his athletic traits and he projects as a 3-down linebacker, which pretty rare in today's NFL. So what about Jamin Davis? Let's say pick 24, because that's where the Steelers are. Say the Steelers come up for a quarterback. Yeah,
I like him there. Again, athletic freak. You give him to Vic Fangio. Let him go do his work with the kid. He's shown really well there in college there at Kentucky. I think because Kentucky's not great as a team in the SEC, they don't get a whole lot of attention, but they produce really good players for the NFL.
Linebackers specifically.
Yeah, exactly. And so depending on what the trade back value is of what they get in return, is that their 2022 first round pick, probably, if they're trading clear back to 24, and you get him and that first round pick and a little bit more, I'm good with that decision.
Steelers are a team that's very likely for regression next year, right? Big Ben falling off. It's a team that didn't have much financial flexibility this year. And they could easily be a top 10 picking team next year. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in football, probably not picking top 10 just because of him, but they're a team that's regressing. So Jamin Davis had a good vertical jump. I think Jamin Davis had the best recorded vertical jump since Boss Bailey, Champ Bailey's brother. So talk about an athletic freak. And that's another thing. Athletes don't always translate to linebacker. Obviously, we want athletes at linebacker, but linebacker is much more of a processing and technique position than a lot of people meet to the eye. I mean, especially for coverage. Everybody's like, oh, Devin Bush. Broncos need athleticism at linebacker. True. Devin Bush has been one of the worst coverage linebackers in football the past few seasons. Athleticism does not equal coverage ability. Yes. Caleb Farley. I see a couple of questions here for Caleb Farley. What about trading down to 24 and getting Caleb Farley? A lot of concerns. People are saying he's going to be ready year one, but man, the tape, he was my number 6 overall prospect or number 7 overall prospect before the injury, because he's that talented, that good of a scheme fit, versatile. I love him. Injuries are a very big concern. But when you're trading down that far and you could even like baby him year one because you don't have a need, it's really about like you're taking a lottery ticket, but it's a lottery ticket you have good safety on because you're getting all those extra picks back.
Yep. So, yeah, it's worth it when you've got more darts to throw at the board. Mm-hmm. You can take more risk. And he's a talent that's worth taking risk. Like he's the one cornerback that can actually turn into a top 5 cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah.
This isn't the greatest cornerback class. I think it's got a little bit of depth, but it doesn't have like that top end guy that you just sit there and say, boom, that's the next generational talent. And we kind of overuse that term, but I mean,
there might be 2 in this class, and that's rare with Lawrence and Pitts.
Okay. Yes. You're right.
In general.
Right. But he's one of those guys you sit there and you can really project and say, man, if he puts it all together, this guy could really turn into a Hall of Fame kind of cornerback. He just has that level of talent. 6'2", runs a 4.3. Yeah, he's just different than the other guys. But so at that point, it's worth the risk. At pick 9, definitely not worth the risk.
Yeah. David Kilgore coming in here. If we move down in the draft, do you guys see us trying to move back up in the first to get 2 first-round picks total? I mean, it's possible, right? Like if there's a guy that Broncos absolutely love that is falling, we've seen the Minnesota Vikings have done this multiple times. They traded back up in the first round for Teddy Bridgewater, and I think they also traded back up in the first round for who's the safety? Harrison Smith. I think they also traded back up in the first round for Harrison Smith. So definitely possible. And if you have those extra picks after trading down, you have the flexibility to do that. So I think it's real possible. And also 5th-year option. If there's somebody falling that they want to say, we need 5 years of control on this guy rather than 4 just to have that option, there's value to that. So I think that's a good question. It's definitely possible if you do a trade back first. And Michael coming back in here, talking about Parsons, talking about athleticism does not equate to coverage. He said that that's why Atwater didn't like Parsons, said he doesn't know what's going on. And that's interesting because recently I heard Atwater talk about Parsons saying that he liked him as a fit for the Broncos, but that was an interview with Phil, who works for the Broncos side. I can't think of his last. Yes. Phil Milani, who I like, really nice guy. Wish I remember his last name there. Met him at the combine a few times. Shout out to Phil. But I think Atwater had probably not done as much work on Parsons. He's out there trying on gold jackets and stuff. He's busy. And Najee Harris trade back. I mean, if you take Najee Harris in the first round, I'm not going to be happy. So I'm sorry. I'm just
doesn't
not.
matter what you get in return.
Yeah. And it's Jeremy coming in. Great smile, Jeremy. Man, looking like Kirk Cousins there. What's going on? Jeremy Sean A saying, I think Farley is this year's Jeffrey Simmons. Very, very possible. And here's a good question also. Who goes higher, JOK or Jameer Davis? Is it possibly they are the first linebacker off the board? Yes, I think. Oh man, that's a tough question. Wow. It really depends on how much the Micah Parsons stuff doesn't bother some teams or does bother some teams. Like I could see the Raiders being like, we don't care. He's a football guy. Great place to send a guy with character concerns, Vegas. But
right. Detroit.
Yeah.
Their new head coach doesn't seem like a guy that would care too much about some of those things.
No.
So I still think Parsons will be the first guy off the board.
Ooh-wee.
But between those two, I'd say probably JOK still goes first.
Yeah. Some people are going to be looking for some man coverage, will linebackers or safeties in this scheme. So I think that somebody will value him. You're really projecting him in the Vic Fangio defense based on what we've seen. So Richie Rich coming in here. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. No need to be sorry. The point is that you made it at all and just in time for the fun stuff. Carl, Broncos call the Atlanta Falcons give up a 2021 first, 71 this year, and a third round pick next year as well. Go up to 4. Select Trey Lance. Your thoughts?
I'd give it a B.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That extra first round pick hurts. They're throwing in that third round pick as well, and then the next third round pick. One of the problems with this team, I will say, is depth.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're pretty quality 1 through 22, but you get 23 through 53. There's a lot of question marks when you start getting into that. I love Trey Lance, and I think he has some real potential to turn into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's smart. I think he's got obviously plenty of arm talent. He can run. He can do everything that you want him to do, but I don't like one-year starters. I really don't. Just there's such a high bust potential among guys that play the quarterback position and only start one year. Mm-hmm. And he is young. I mean, he's still only 20 years old, and maturity matters at the quarterback position. I do think he's mature, but it's still mature for a 20-year-old. But I don't know.
That's how they describe me, Carl.
Yeah. But it just still there's a lot of risk with that one. Yeah. I would feel better about Fields than I would Lance at that point.
Okay. So you gave it a B?
Yep.
I would probably give it a B- just because there's so much risk doing that. Yep. I mean, I would be happy because that means they really believed in the quarterback. And if they thought that the only way they were going to Fields was their guy and the only way they're going to get him was going up to 4, I would talk myself into it because the first draft we covered together was a 2017 draft. And I remember specifically doing the AFC West review, and we were like talking about the Chiefs draft. Oh man, we're giving so much up to move up from 27 to 10. And it's like, oh, people are dogging them. Like, oh man, the Chiefs are stupid. The Big 12 quarterbacks never even won a playoff game. It said, you know what? It won't matter at all. They could have given up 10's a lot. 3 first round picks and moved up. If that quarterback's a hit, it'll come out in the wash. And the Chiefs, little did I know at that point he'd hit this hard. And the Chiefs are the first team in NFL history to host the AFC Championship game in back-to-back seasons. God bless. And the Broncos haven't beaten them since that week 2 2015 game. God, what a pit of misery. But if you hit on the quarterback, doesn't matter. But there's so much risk. I can't give it an A. Would you give it a higher grade if it was Fields?
Yes, I'd give it a B+.
Okay.
So here's a couple things. Mm-hmm. Fields has more years of experience. I think he does a lot better being able to operate when things are breaking down around him, because he does so well of keeping his eyes down the field. Lance, somebody said, how is he going to work with Shanahan? Because Shanahan wants you to work within the offense. And I said, Lance, when he runs, it's because it's a run played call. There's very few times where he drops back into coverage and says, oh crap, everything's breaking down, I'm going to take off running. He does it some, but it's more because it's actually designed into the play. Hey, take off running. Fields, he runs when everything breaks down and it's a designed pass and everything is covered. So boom, I'll take off running.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have that extra little ability. I just think he does better in the improvisation ability compared to Lance. And I think early on in their careers, it's going to pay off big time for Fields. And I feel better about Fields not busting. And I also think Fields stands a better chance at starting as a rookie and playing well compared to Trey Lance.
Yeah, so I want to get to this comment real quick from Josh T, where he's saying Justin Fields went to Ohio State. I hope you guys could pick up on my comment earlier about Patrick Mahomes, that no Big 12 quarterback had ever won a playoff game before Patrick Mahomes. I don't give a flying hoot where they went to school, right? Yeah. Like, talent is talent. We've seen that time and time again. Oh, well, Steve McNair, he went to Alcorn State. He'll never get a chance. Doesn't matter. How many good quarterbacks have come from Syracuse since Donovan McNabb? Right? How many good quarterbacks from Missouri? Like, every quarterback is their own individual. Every prospect is their own individual. There's this thought of a factory for one school or one school being bust is just, it's faulty. There's nothing to it other than cliches, I guess. But an important one here that I actually want to get to. People said he played in a weak division. SP Plus, which does a lot of data analysis for college football and metrics. Here's a quote, an important quote here. Fields faced the toughest schedule of all college football defenses by SP Plus's metrics, including his final 4 games against top 15 defenses in college football: Indiana, Northwestern, Clemson, Alabama. No FBS quarterback drafted in the last decade has had a more difficult defensive schedule than Fields. Across this season of unprecedented competition, the Ohio State passing offense was 6th in EPA per play, only behind BYU and Alabama. So Justin Fields not playing a tough schedule. Sorry, it's just not true. Yep. Just not true. I don't know what to tell you. It's just not true. Obviously, Ohio State out athletes some teams. He had a talent or an advantage there, but so did Trevor Lawrence. So did Zach Wilson. So did Trey Lance. So did who was Mac Jones, the other one. Yep. So all those guys. So I don't know, man.
And I would say, I mean, they're in the college playoffs. Justin Fields, like I said, he went against some great defenses. Clemson has some great athletes that are going to be first round picks moving forward. And he played well. I mean, it was one of the best college games by a quarterback all season. 6 touchdowns, did it with possibly some broken ribs or at least pretty darn bruised ribs. And then went into the next game against Alabama playing against Patrick Surtain, a great cornerback. Mm-hmm. Dylan Moses, who's going to go pretty high. Barmore, that's going to go really high. There's just obviously, I mean, Alabama always loaded on defense with talent. And he's about the only reason they were even in that game at all. The rest of the team sucked. But Justin Fields actually looked very good in that game. Had some very close plays that should have been touchdowns that his teammates didn't help him.
Chris Olave and Jeremy Ruckert were incredible.
Okay,
I know. I gotta stand my guys. Jeremy Ruckert,
okay,
so good. I love him. I love him. I love Jeremy.
But like I said, Justin Fields looked like a quarterback that belonged in those games against some high quality defenses, and so. This whole Ohio State thing, we've heard this all year. There's no great quarterback that's ever come from Ohio State. Well, they've only had 4 quarterbacks in their entire history that have gone first round. And the last one before, what's his name? Shoot. Why am I spacing it?
JT Barrett?
No. In 2019. That Washington took.
Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins. The last one before him, 1982. The one before then, 1949. So, again, they've never really been known to the NFL as this quarterback university that, hey, we're looking to them for great talent.
Games changed, too. Like, before, just look at Alabama. Like, they were teams that were like, oh, we have way better athletes. We're going to run the football and play defense because that's what's worked for years, and we have an advantage there. Innovations change that. You listen to Nick Saban, he's like, listen, I can't do anything anymore with the defense. We have to put up points. And now they're putting out NFL quarterbacks because they are looking for passing games because that's the only way to keep up, to score more points. So interesting one. And also a good point here from Goofy. Herbert came from Oregon, and they aren't necessarily known for great quarterbacks. If anything, Oregon was known for massive busts at the quarterback position. Marcus Mariota has not lived up to the number 2 overall pick. Kellen Clemens, nothing. Joey Harrington, massive bust. Achilles Smith, massive bust. So did that matter for Justin Herbert? No. He's his own individual prospect. You have to evaluate him as such. Don't fall into those tropes. It is dangerous. Can't do it. Fields will break the streak. I Achilles Smith. Yep, Mike Woodward coming in here. So, okay, and one more scenario here. Oh, yeah. Broncos taking the quarterback, Trey Lance or Justin Fields at 9, A+, right? Like, if they fall to 9, A+, we don't even want to spend time there. Trading up to 6 or 7. Let's say they give up a third-round pick this year, 71, and a 2022 second to move up to 6. 1 for Trey Lance, 2 for Justin Fields.
Say the compensation again.
71 and a 2022 second.
Okay.
To move up to 6 or 7.
I'd give it an A-. I mean, again, you're getting your quarterback. You're not giving up the first-round pick. If all it costs you to get your guy that's going to be there for the next 15, 20 years is a third-round pick and a second-round pick on top of your first-round pick that you obviously got, man, that's that's nothing. That's pennies on the dollar there. Mm-hmm. You can build around that team. You can do so many things because, like I said, you still have plenty of draft compensation that you can figure things out. And you're now going to have tons of cap space to go and just dominate teams because you can add through free agency. You can add an entire defense because now you have a cheap quarterback. So I got it. I can't go below an A-.
And they're both A's for me. I mean, if you can hold in that 2022 first, and it does suck that you're losing a potential starter, especially that 2022 second, and next year's class should be better overall. But we'll see. So guys, hope you enjoyed it. Talked about a lot of scenarios. If we didn't hit any of these scenarios here, I'm looking through the board. Obviously, Broncos traded out, and they only have one pick and pick 60. Who are they taking? Like, that's probably not realistic. Didn't talk about the wide receivers. Didn't talk about interior offensive line. There's some other edge rushers, maybe some cornerbacks too. But I think we mainly hit the big names. So if we did miss anybody there, you guys let us know on Twitter. You can find us at Twitter. First, find Carl at Carl Dumler MHH. Also, everybody's still here. We got 257 people. Everybody in the chat. Wish Carl's wife a happy birthday. 29 years old again, right, Carl?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yes. 29 years old for all eternity. That's once you hit that age, right? So congrats to her. Happy birthday. Hopefully you make her a special night. Also, shout out to John. Follow him on Twitter at John KMHH. Follow Carl at Carl Dumler MHH. Follow me at Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, guys, this is Building the Broncos. Follow us at BTB Football Pod, so that way you can see our shows coming out there. Also, guys, you like the swag? Carl and I both forgot our hats today. I just wanted to show off the hair game. So that way when Jay came in, he's like, Nick, you abandoned us, the curly hair gang. But find all our swag at huddleuppod.com. A lot of good stuff there. I need to get myself a Mile High Huddle coffee mug for the Broncos for breakfast. Really important, guys. Subscribe, like, and share. We have a lot of eyeballs still in here. If you guys like the content, best thing you can do to help us. If you do these things, we are going to be able to bring you more of these shows. I mean, a lot of these people have already answered the call. So now guess what? We're coming at you in the morning with Broncos for breakfast. Even more shows for you guys, more content to consume, talking the Broncos. And I know the draft is about here, but guess what? We've been talking what could happen. Now we're going to talk about what actually happened. And we're going to break that down. And what does that mean going forward? How do all these guys fit? What are the key roster battles? I mean, I'm so excited to talk about that. We've been talking about the prospects of the prospects for a long time. What's the reality going to be? And there's a lot of implications based on that. And everybody knows it's about the implication. And if you guys get that reference, God bless you. That's an Always Sunny's fan out there. Also, guys, make sure you like or heart if you're joining us on Facebook. We appreciate all the heck out of all of our Facebook listeners on here. I see young Tyrone coming in here. It looks like he got an awesome hairdo, young Tyrone. Those pictures are so small. I can't really enjoy how everybody looks here. We got Vic coming in. Great show, gentlemen. Tim Durr. Everybody saying happy birthday to Carl's wife. Happy birthday to Carl's wife. Yeah, great show. Can't wait for Broncos for breakfast. See you tomorrow morning. And hit the like on the way out. We got to 50. That's a good number. God bless you guys. Let me see. Anything else here? Find us on iTunes. Well, these shows will go live after that. I'm kind of bothering Chad. He has not been putting up the Broncos for breakfast on iTunes yet. I'm like, Carl or Chad, what's going on? This is gold. We're dropping Scott and I in the mornings are dropping pure gold, and you're not putting it out there for the people who can't be there to join us live. If you guys can't find it though, that is going to be on YouTube still, just not iTunes or Spotify yet. And guys, follow us at Mile High Huddle. My mock draft should be dropping tonight, 3,000 words. And I'm excited for you guys to see it. I don't even think Carl's seen it. I did spoil the first pick. It's going to be Justin Fields, 9 overall, my number 2 player, and also seems like the quarterback most likely to be there at 9. And I did not do any trades because just too difficult. He says he's got a hat on. I'm sorry. You do have a hat on. Okay.
Oh.
Well, either way, a great hat. I looked like he had like a nice.
It's like a little tiny picture that we get to see of you guys.
Oh man, it's a thumbnail. It really is a thumbnail. Man, love you guys. Stay safe, and man, Carl. Next time we are at building the Broncos, we're gonna know. We're gonna know what the Broncos did. Hopefully, everybody gets presents either way, right? Like even if we don't get the guy, let's say the Broncos Rashaan Slater, I gave it a C+. I'm gonna be happy about it still. So hopefully you guys can take that same. Everybody's getting gifts. Everyone loves it except the Texans because, God, they're idiots. So love you guys. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Broncos for breakfast. God bless. And go Broncos.